I'm going to get this kind of pretty hot because I want the butter to brown a little bit. It adds a little bit more of nuttiness flavor to it. And I want the livers to sear quickly. So we're just going to add about a tablespoon of shallot in there. A little bit of garlic that we chopped up. Then I have a little bit of picked tarragon and a little bit of picked thyme. Just your normal herbs here. So what we're going to do with that is we're just going to chop that up really roughly. Really simple here. We're not going to try to confuse ourselves. I just want a little bit of color on the garlic, and I don't want it to toast too far. Then I'm just going to add and I'm just going to give them a little bit of color. Just sweat it out a little bit just into the
Yeah, Troyers gets very excited when I ask them for their chicken livers because so few people do, and they have so many of them.
and we just put a little bit of tarragon in there, and a little bit of
Troyer
thyme.
and Olathe, the chicken people, they get really excited when people ask them for the odd parts. Seems that 90% of the
So that's
chicken
about it
in
right
my
there
country-
for the cooking time. Then what we want to do
boneless, skinless breasts.
is add about a quarter cup of brandy. That's the fun part, a little fun bag. And what you're doing is just cooking out the alcohol here. But all that heat's kind of giving the herbs a nice little flavor too.
You never set the sprinklers off, Ross.
Well, okay, so then when the flame comes down, that's pretty much all the alcohol. So then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this right to the blender.
So it's probably still pink inside and...
Yep, still raw on the inside, just
Oh, it
barely
smells
cooked.
incredible now. The tarragon and the brandy.
And notice I didn't put any salt in there at all. The butter is pretty much melted. What I like to do is just add a couple cracks of pepper. Some people use white pepper. I personally can't stand it. I don't like it on fish. I don't like it in mashed potatoes. It does not
Tastes like pepper.
doesn't taste like pepper. If anyone's ever worked on a horse farm and cleaned horse hooves, it smells or polished horse hooves. I was kind of a country boy as a youngster, so I've done all that, and it's one of those things where it smells exactly like that when you crack it, so I can't touch it.
What's that?
This is truffle oil, just white tartuffe truffle oil, and I'll add half a tablespoon, maybe a touch more. So we got our chicken livers in, we got our truffle oil in, we have all the brandy, the cognac, the herbs, and then this is a little mixture. It's called quatre épices, and if you've been reading in the recipe there, it's allspice, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, all mixed together, equal parts. You can make this at your house. It's really, it's good with cakes, it's good in muffins and all that kind of stuff, and instead of just doing cinnamon or nutmeg, just a little bit of all this works real well. And I'll probably put, calls for a pinch, but I think I like a little bit stronger flavor, so I'll put 1, 2, 3 pinches in there.
Naughty.
And because I like the taste of brandy, I put just a little bit more in there.
That hasn't had the alcohol burned off it. I like
Yep.
that idea.
I forgot one thing. But since we already have them made, it's not going to affect it. This is where you would actually add 2 eggs. Okay? So here's 2 eggs going in. I just did it really quickly. You missed it. And then with the 2 sticks of butter. Okay? I mean, if that's not gluttony at its finest right there. So then we're just going to take this. This is the best part. You saw how easy that was. Can be done almost anywhere. So you pretty much are making liver milkshake. I mean, smell that.
Now, when you put the 2 eggs in, were those whites and yolks?
Whites and yolks. You just crack the egg right into it and blend it in with the milkshake. That's what's going to keep holding it and binding it together a little bit more. The liver doesn't have very much fat in it, so the butter is kind of part of the fat, and the egg, as it cooks, the egg grabs the butter, holds on to the actual liver, and then that all binds together. So then when it cools, the butter is kind of more of the hardening factor. So then once you get to that point, what you do, and since we don't have a oven here, we're not actually going to go through this entire step, but you would just take a little bit of butter, melted butter with a pastry brush, and brush all your ramekins out. And then you would take your mousse and pour it about 3/4 of the way up. Okay, you do that with all of your mousse cups, and then you take it in a you can do it in a hotel pan or a deeper cookie sheet or a Pyrex pan or something like that you might have at home. And then you just line these up in the pan, and then you take your water. And the best way to do this, I've always found, is that you have your oven on hot, bring water up to almost a boiling point, a steam or a simmering point.
I do it in my kettle, my tea kettle.
Yeah, and then just turn it off and let it sit there so it's hot when you go to do it. And then you'll take this and you'll pour water. I'll keep one in there just so you can see the exact height you should go to. And people get scared with this because they're like, oh, we shouldn't do it. You're baking with water, just like making a cheesecake. You'll go just to a 1/4 inch to the top of the ramekin there. It's kind of hard to see for me to show you, or I'll spill all the water. But if you guys want to look, they'll just sit like that. You don't cover it at all. It's almost at a simmer. Then you'll take this whole thing and pop it right in the oven. 20, 25 minutes. Pull them out. You take them. Then they'll be hot, and just like when you're cooking Jello or you're cooking pudding at home. As soon as it looks like it's taut and it's not really shaking across the top, it's just nice and firm, you'll stick that into the refrigerator. It shouldn't take more than 20 to 30 minutes. Then you just let them cool down in the refrigerator. So then,
you do the same with the ball jars if you're doing that?
exact same thing with the ball jars. I've done this exact same thing, but I've done it in this and set this into a larger pan and let it sit. But when you do that, what you really want to do is you put clarified butter on the bottom, or you put butter on the bottom and let it melt, and then cool that down, and then pull it back out. Pour the mousse over top, and then bake it. The butter will actually stay on the bottom, and the mousse will sit up on top of it. So as it cools, you'll be able to just slowly warm that bottom, flip it over, and the whole thing comes out. That's the only difficulty with something that size.
When you bake it, what temperature do you bake it?
300 degrees. And you'll see right now, like right there, that kind of looks like the cat food liver version. But hopefully, when you turn it out, see, I made it a little too soft. Please get those off. That should be all right. But the top is usually nice and pink. You just take a warm knife and go around the edge. Usually pop right out.